Call to order and recording is present and absent.
McDermott,
Aye.
Parker,
Yes.
Slater,
Here.
Kane,
Here.
Hanson.
Here.
Read open meeting compliance statement.
I, the undersigned clerk of the Board of Education of the Alva Independent School District Number 1 of Woods County, Oklahoma, certify that prior to December 15 of the last calendar year, the date, time, and place of this regular meeting was filed in the office of the County Clerk of Woods County, Oklahoma. I also certify that at least 24 hours prior to this meeting, excluding Saturdays, Sundays, and holidays, notice of the date, time, place, and agenda of this meeting was posted in prominent public view at the location of the meeting. Witness my hand this 8th day of January 2018.
Consent agenda. All the following items, which concern reports and items of a routine nature, normally approved by one board vote, unless any board member desires to have a separate vote on any or all of these items. The consent agenda consists of the discussion, consideration, and approval of the following items. Number 1, addition of items of new business to the agenda.
Have none.
Number 2, minutes of December 4th, 2017, regular board meeting. See those? Approval of the treasurer's report on the status of funds and investments. Comparison. You want to talk about any of these, Ms. Parkers?
Well, I tell you, the encumbrance comparison looks really good because, revenue comparison, we're up $228,000 and spending's not that much. So we're looking really good. Terry and I were visiting about that a little bit this afternoon, and it looks like that, we could carry as much money as we carried over last year with these comparisons and everything. So everything looks good, to be real honest with you, at this point in time. And I heard on the news about 4 o'clock this morning that oil prices are going to go up because it's been so cold in the east, so that's going to help us and so forth. So our gross production, you can see, is still 181,000, so it hasn't gone down. So really in good shape at this point in time financially.
Approval of the activity fund report.
You can see the different activities and the money and so forth. Some of them pretty good shape. Basketball, you can see we haven't turned in any of the gate money or any of that type of thing. We still have to disperse some money from the football, which will help with all of our sports and everything from the gates, and also the concession needs to be split up for first semester. But all of them in pretty good shape. It's amazing that each and every month we've got about $300,000 in our different activity accounts.
Approval of the activity account fundraisers.
I think we have a couple. Elementary Booster Club, funds raised from the kiss-and-gram sales will be used to purchase gifts and treats for teachers and staff during Teacher Appreciation Week, and send letters home and so forth. This is a new one. Our Elementary Booster Club is very active, and they're doing a great job in helping our teachers and everything, so good group. And then FFA, actually this had already taken place, but they have Coyote calling contest, and funds purchased Christmas meals for families in need, and they had some people that were needy and had already been identified.
That went well, the Coyote calling?
Yeah, it really did.
That's interesting.
I can't give you the figures at this point in time, but I think they had like 10 groups,
That's fabulous.
senior groups, and about 6 junior groups in it.
Is there any advantage, is this just for informational purposes, of looking at these things after the fact?
Well, not really, because the board has given superintendent permission to approve these when they come in like this, and I think this was a kids wanted to do it, and they wanted to raise the money for the needy families for Christmas, so it was a late idea. It's up to you all.
Well, it happens a lot.
I think the law states that the board actually has to approve them, though, Jane.
I think so too. So, I mean, shouldn't we might approve them before they happen?
Like you say, we get into a timeline sometimes that they come up with these, but
Can we strongly encourage?
yes, we
That would
can.
help.
I mean, it's kind of just a
I'm
rubber
looking at
stamp.
y'all, 'cause I guess it's a community thing.
Yes, it is. You know, most of the time when we do these things, it's for a civic group. It's not something that is going to an activity so forth that we approve after the fact. But we can do that and encourage all of our activity people to get those in on a timely basis.
Was there one time, did we ask that they even be all submitted at the first of the year? I mean, didn't we?
Each year, we try to submit all of the continuing fundraisers that we do. And each year, somebody always brings up another fundraiser. So we do these at the year. If you want to, we could come in and look at just doing at the beginning of the year and maybe at the beginning of the second semester.
I just think they need to be done the month prior to when they're hosting them.
Sure.
I mean, there's really no sense of us approving something that's already happened. I mean, it's
And
kind of silly. I mean,
and we can do that because all I gotta do is deny it until the board meeting.
well, I mean, we're not trying to be mean, but if
No.
there's no sense of, I mean,
If everybody knows it, then everybody knows it, and we can work from that way. So I don't have a problem with that.
I mean,
Okay?
okay. Approval of child nutrition report.
Okay. If you look at your November report, just a comparison from last year. For some reason, our income from breakfast and lunch was down a little bit, but our big five money income was above, and federal reimbursement was almost $5,000 a month. So for that month, comparison to last year, we took in $2,900.36 more than what we did a year ago. And the thing that's really striking to me is that we served 2,386 more meals this year. And our average lunches were 125 per day more. And total breakfast, we served 210 more. And then our a la carte sales at the high school are up to 2171 increase. So we've got more kids eating at the high school, a la carte and so forth. And again, we've got more kids eating because of our preschool students and so forth. But again, our administrators and secretaries did a good job with the free and reduced because we're getting more federal monies coming in comparison. So pretty good shape on our child nutrition, to be real honest with you. Very pleased with it.
Is there a motion for the consent agenda?
Yes, I'd make the motion that we accept items 3-1 through 7.
Through 3-6. Is that what you have?
Wait a minute. Yes, I guess so, because I was looking at my agenda and it has 7 items.
Yeah.
Actually, it only has
Looks
6, you're right.
Oh.
So,
Okay, a second.
thank you for the correction.
McDermott,
Aye.
Parker,
Yes.
Slater,
Yes.
Kane.
Yes,
Hanson.
Yes.
Vote to approve purchase order encumbrances for the following funds for fiscal year 18. 4.1 general fund, as stated.
Okay, if you want to look at the encumbrances, there's really not anything just sticks out at you. On purchase order 541, Circle H LLC, that's our cleaning service. We lost a custodian at Lincoln School, so we had to add them in the evenings to clean the elementary school there, so that may be up a little bit. And then on our purchase order 555, that's an open purchase order for tires and so forth at K&S. And 557, we encumbered $5,000 for the remainder of the year for any legal matters that we needed with Rosenstein, Fisk, and Ringo, and that's an open PO. It's not that we're spending $5,000 with them. And then the last one, 566, Darby S. Hine. My wife has retired, so she is no longer the physical therapist. So Darby, we had a contract with her, and in the meeting later on, we'll ask you to honor that contract for the remainder of the school year. Darby has done all of our physical therapy throughout the year. My wife has not gone to the schools or anything. It's always been Darby. So that's why we've encumbered $18,000 for that. And the rest of it's just everyday, normal stuff that we have.
2, building fund, as presented.
And you can see that a lot of repair on air conditioners, heaters, and so forth. 55 is just an open PO for repairs for fair plumbing for the remainder of the semester, hopefully. And then purchase order 60, Bloyer and Sons. They're doing some roof repair to the middle school right now. Part of the problem when we have, if we ever get any rain, is that our downspouts aren't wide enough to relieve the water coming off the whole building. So they've had to go in there and increase the size of the downspout so that the water could get, because otherwise it backs up, and that's where we get the water in the hallways and so forth in the classrooms. So they're working on that at this point in time.
Are there any roof issues since are they here right now? Are they Are there is there anything that we need to be aware of with like snow or with winter type stuff coming that they could possibly?
Shane, we always have problems with snow staying on the buildings and then finding leaks and so forth. They have worked with us for the past probably 4 years, and so they've worked at Longfellow. And we need to get them back over to Washington yet because we got a small leak in a bathroom. So they are pretty much on top of what our needs are, and so they're working, trying to get those things taken care of.
Okay.
Very good company and so forth.
So when we need them, they're typically
Yes.
We're pretty high on the
Yes.
list, please.
Probably the quickest I've had since I've been here. You know, used to, Alva Roofing used to take care of us all. And then they moved to the city and things kind of changed a little bit. They didn't get to us as quickly as we needed, and found them by chance.
Gotcha.
Where are they at?
Wellington, Kansas.
Wellington, Kansas.
Right. Do a good job for us. They've done a lot of roof work for us in the last 5 years. But the roof at the middle school has been a mess ever since we completed that middle school because of the way that it was designed and so forth. And I know in the science room, before you get to the extension going down to the cafeteria, the water would back up and it goes down that wall and in the windows over there. And that's what we're trying to get fixed there, is like getting that water off the roof quicker, because I think it was a 3-inch, maybe a 4-inch. Now they're putting in a 6-inch to take care of all of that downspout stuff. So, because all of those classrooms on the very north and west side, those ceilings have leaked forever. So they're working on both sides.
Child Nutrition Fund, number 22, is presented.
You can just see that those are supplies and refrigeration repairs for that. That's normal.
4.4, gift fund.
Don't have anything in the gift fund.
Principals reports.
We need a
Oh,
motion
sorry.
All right.
Railroad this deal.
I'll move to approve the purchase order encumbrances referenced in 4.1, 4.2, and 4.3.
Second.
Hanson,
Yes.
McDermott,
Aye.
Parker,
Yes.
Slater,
Yes.
Kane.
Yes.
Okay, Christmas reports. Mr. Beaver.
We're just kind of briefing you on the January 3rd in-service meetings that we held right before we came back into session. Myself, Tiffany Mata, and Tabitha Carruthers and Chastity Gingrich all presented to our staff at Washington. I presented about the growth mindset and helping students overcome some failures, just teaching them that it's okay to fail. We've learned a way not to do something. Tiffany talked about which reports we're going to use for parent-teacher conferences and some details about what they should be looking for in those reports that come out of the MAP test. Tabitha Carruthers talked about student goal setting, and what we're going to be doing is meeting with all those kids and setting some goals and then creating an action plan for them to reach those goals as the semester progresses. And then Chastity talked about classroom goal setting. So as a class, they also set a goal. And the kids are really involved with the teacher in creating that plan and how they're going to celebrate their success and different things like that.
I also had some teachers that helped me facilitate the meetings. Sarah Eckhart, Cindy Wooten, and Crystal Clapp, and they had a really nice little spin on how they wanted to present. So we did some role playing. So Kendi and Sarah, they were the teacher, and they had Crystal come up as the student. So everyone got to watch growth goal setting happening in front of them, and they gave them some tips on how to do that. And then they had all of the teachers split into groups like they would their classrooms and gave them their weakness according to their data, if they were a specific student, and showed them how they allow their students to take ownership of the activities and the action plans that they create. They really have their kids take ownership over it by, they have a ton of resources, but Khan Academy, Vocabulary, Study Island, they have a lot of different ways that they let the students do some of their own research to see how they might reach their goal. So they did that with the teachers. And then they had a lot of time to be able to go back through all of their reports and to actually set up their own groups according to weaknesses and students that may not have grown much or didn't grow at all or really grew a lot. And they really had some meaningful conversations about how to reach the kids that are high achievers but didn't show as much growth as they had hoped. So it was good conversations.
Okay, at the middle school, we did more kind of a collaboration approach, and it was myself and JC Heaton and Shannon Drew, and we went through and looked at the student scores. All of this is kind of new for us because, you know, this is our first year to be doing this kind of testing, this MAP testing. And we kind of looked at all the different kinds of reports because there's a gazillion. I mean, if there was a report that you wanted to find, you can find it. And so we went through and kind of looked at the ones that would be most beneficial for us. We also, you know, tried to take that information and figure out how we can adjust our curriculum maps to go back and cover the information that maybe our kids didn't get. And then after that, we discussed which reports we were going to present on that, the 2 days that we were back after Christmas break. And so each one of the students should have met with their teacher to go over what how they did on their MAP testing. So that was kind of our goal.
What we did at the high school is we went through, had everybody meet in the library, and we talked about our curriculum maps that we had done. I've given you examples of a chemistry map that we did, which is kind of a new map that where we're going. But I also printed off an intermediate algebra map. What I had them focus on in the morning is I wanted them to go back and look at the first semester, and I wanted their map to reflect more what they actually did versus what they thought they were going to do when they created the map in August. And when they created the map in August, it was kind of a guess of how many days these certain things would take. They can go back down and compare with their grade book and see where how many days those units actually took. And so that map can more reflect the right timeline of what things actually, how much time it took to cover those topics. In the afternoon, what I wanted them to do is go focus on their map for the spring semester and what they wanted to do going forward. They project where they think they're going to be. They know where they're at right now, but where they want to be when school's out, and get everything covered that they need to cover to do that. So that's kind of our day was that way. We met in the library early and we talked about those things, and then we met again right after lunch and got them focused to go back and look at those kinds of things. We talked about the assessment piece. I wanted them to go back and take a real honest look at the assessment and how they assessed the objectives that they were trying to get across to do that, and if they needed to change something, be open to be able to do that as they go forward in the spring semester. I will say too that we are going to adopt math textbooks this year, and there's a textbook caravan on Thursday that we're going to go to Enid. Every site is sending a group of teachers to figure out the textbook that they want to go through. Math is probably the curricular area that is most dependent upon a textbook. They use that. They're obviously we will encourage them to bring in other materials and do those kinds of things, but math teachers seem to be real tied to that textbook and what they want to, covering the things they need to get covered. So we're going to go do that on Thursday and try to figure out what we want to do with textbook adoption for next year.
Alice has got some ball games she had to go see because of her kids and everything, but basically Longfellow working on the same thing, training on reading the reports, looking at their growth groups, setting class goals and so forth. And the interesting thing that when I talk to teachers Thursday and Friday and this week a little bit is that I think they appreciated the consistency of what we're doing this year, that we're not doing 3 or 4 different things, that the consistency is looking at our students' growth and so forth, and a consistent way of doing it K through 12 with this NWEA mapping and all of that kind of good stuff. So I think it's going to take some time, and we've got some schools that are ahead of the other schools and so forth, but teachers did appreciate that part of being consistent in what we're doing.
I have a quick question. Okay. Are you doing the map testing at the high school?
We're doing it in math only right now. In the high school level, they have math and it's reading, but for us it'll be English. And right now we chose to phase that in to kind of familiarize what we're going to do. But we did that with our Algebra 1 students this year. That map testing is 3 times a year. We actually missed the fall deadline or whatever it is to do that. So we're kind of behind the 8 ball with that, but we did do the mid-year testing to do that. So when we test again in the spring, we'll at least have a couple of data points that we can use to compare and do those kinds of things. But we're going to go full-fledged in it because there's kind of a setup thing with technology and different things like that. And so we thought we would get involved in it, but we kind of wanted to ease into it, make sure we do it, as good as we can.
How are you evaluating those students then on your mapping on your other classes outside of math?
We are going to go on the 17th of January to an ACT. All of our department heads are going to go to an ACT workshop. That's what we're going to be evaluated by from this point on by the state, where we score ACT-wise. So we're going to go, all of our department heads are going to go to that and look and see what those ACT standards are and what we need to be, how we can more closely align what we're trying to do with ACT. And that's kind of where we're headed. And it's kind of different for us than it is for everybody else because we have an actual ACT test that we do that. So we're trying to mesh everything together to do that. But our assessment, for lack of a better term, is going to be the ACT when we get ready to do that. And we test every kid. So.
And that will be what year in high school?
That we
be their
test, that's
junior
their
year?
junior year. Now we'll do a pre-ACT, their sophomore year, and so we'll have an idea of the direction that they're headed and maybe some of their some of their points or some of their places that they're not quite as strong. I would like to, one of the questions that we're going to ask is to try to figure out, ACT has a ton of different resources and different things that we can do. I would like to see us give a test to freshmen, sophomores, juniors for sure, to figure out where we're at, where we're weak. And it may not be where the student's weak, it may be where our curriculum's weak, and we need to shore that up a little bit. But we're gonna focus on that when we get ready to go and do this on the 17th at that workshop, to figure out, are there different places that we can assess rather than do nothing, 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 and then bam, hit them with an ACT test. Then we're gonna try to get them where we can progress into that big exam.
Good,
Karen,
thank you.
ACT's working on tests all the way down to the junior high that will
Yes.
go through,
Should
right?
be an 8th grade test.
Yeah.
So those are things that we're gonna be
It's
looking
interesting.
at.
Where are you going for your ACT, Lee?
You know, I think it's in Enid.
Well, and the reason I ask is that the counselor at Cherokee has been in touch with me, and she has a gentleman coming the 17th of January, is why I kind of lit up,
Okay.
at Northwest Tech's campus, and it's going to be some of the resources available.
Maybe that's where it is.
It may be.
Who's the guy coming?
I didn't
Is it like Tony Cortez or
Yes,
something? Yeah.
that's it, Tony
Okay.
Cortez,
Okay.
yeah.
That's,
Okay.
then we're coming to your
Okay.
place. I
And
knew we were going somewhere,
she
but
had
it's at your
been
place.
to a meeting, maybe at Tonkawa, NOC's
No,
campus,
I
someplace.
think it was at Woodward, because we were all at
Okay.
the same one at Woodward.
So
Tammy
this
and I
is-
went to that one.
We're kind of on a learning curve here with the ACT. It's funny, ACT's been around forever, but as far as resources available to educational facilities to enhance, you know, unless you hired somebody who taught a test prep class, that was the only thing we ever knew of.
Right.
That I was. So this is kind of a new thing for us. I don't know. When she called, she was real excited about it, and I said, "Well, that sounds great. Who's going to do it, and what do you need?" And so that's going to be. It's just a morning session, and it really is just like an hour and a half of some of this resource stuff that's available to help gear all of our schools. This is just kind of new for all of us.
It's kind of tip of the
I
iceberg.
mean, it
We
sounds
don't
weird
really
because
know.
the ACT's been around forever, but she said, "Do you know of all the resources?" And I said, "No," and I've been doing this a few years.
So we're all coming.
We are kind of new, yeah.
We're all coming to
Okay.
do that. We had to register online to
You
do
knew I was
that.
going to do that.
So that's what it is.
Anyway, yeah. Before you move on, can I give an attaboy?
Sure.
I took the time and privilege of being at some of your schools for some of your Christmas programs, and I want to tell you thank you. Fabulous job, your kids did well, and you all are doing a great job, so thank you for allowing me to come and interrupt your day and taste a book and all that kind of good stuff, so thank you. I hope it's as well received other places, but I was impressed.
Thank you. Okay, superintendent's report.
Okay, I've been communicating with 2 architectural firms to come and look at the possibility of a new fine arts building at the high school. You know, we have band down at the middle school, and so we have to bus our kids back and forth, so that's a loss of time there. Also in the vocal room, we don't have places for special needs kids and wheelchairs and that type of thing, so we're not handicap accessible. So we're looking at a fine arts possibility of a building there at the high school. Also paving more parking lots so that we've got some parking up there at the high school. We also want to look at resurfacing the track because the track was built in 1980, and I think we've done 3 Band-Aid jobs over that point in time since I've been here, and we're getting to the point in time if we don't look at it and do something that we could lose it, and we're the only track in town. Along with that, our light poles down on the football field are
Not right.
thank you, Coach. Plus the rotten, those telephone poles and so forth. And we'd also like to see what it would cost to build a small concession bathroom facility up on the deck. So February, they'll come back, and I'm going to ask the board to choose an architectural firm at that point in time where we can start working on that. There's no cost to us at this point in time, and then we could look at a bond issue later on because we do have that bond issue that matures May of 19. So those are the type of projects that we're looking at. And when you look at those projects, you could do all of them, or you could do part of them, or whatever, but we've got to start out someplace. So I've got 2 architectural firms that will come and present their dog and pony show next board meeting, and then we need to approve one of those to start that program and start that access. Also, our administrators will be going down to a meeting with Governor Fallon and Hoffmeister this Wednesday to see what kind of propaganda they're going to have for the school and education for this year, and feel like that opportunity we need to take and do that. So we're all traveling down on Wednesday to do that. Okay, resignations. I've got Brandon Hardy, and Brandon started out as a para, and then he went to the IT, and now he's going to the Navy or the Air Force? I think it is Navy. But he signed up about 1.5 years ago, and they finally got a job open to where he applied for. So he's going to be leaving us and going there. And then the second resignation is for softball coach. Margot has decided not to coach softball next year for the high school. So we have those 2 resignations at this point in time. Don't have any reassignments, so unless you have any questions for me, that's all I have there.
That's good. Do we need a motion to accept those?
No, it's just,
Information. Okay, 7 items of current business. Discussion with possible board action vote to approve the cleaning contract with Circle H LLC cleaning service for the middle school, high school, and Lincoln Elementary for January 1st, 2018 to May 31st, 2018. So they're currently don't have a contract with us, right?
what happened is we tried to hire some custodians at the different buildings, get rid of the cleaning crew and so forth. So we had hired them on a month-to-month contract type situation. But we've had 2 resignations, one at the high school, one at Lincoln, and so we have to get those buildings cleaned. So this is a recommendation to the board that we hire them for the remainder of their contracted period, and I think their contracted period ends in May, the last day of school. And then we go back to our cleaning crews.
They just come in the evenings?
Come in the evenings and clean.
So if there's an issue during the day, is that just taken care of?
We have at least one custodian in the other buildings. Okay. Washington has 2. We actually have 3 at the high school, but with the new indoor facility and the classrooms, and then Mr. Hardman's a lot of time is taken away from that to go look at other things, and because of the size of the building up there, we just can't get it clean with those people. You know, when I first came here in 1980, we had 4 full-time custodians at the high school, without the new gym and so forth. So it's been hard to find them.
Did we look at increasing that package? We did look at that, didn't we? And increasing the package for hiring custodians?
We're going to look at
We're
it,
gonna
yes.
look at it, okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I'd recommend that we do contract with Circle H LLC for the remainder of the school year.
I would make that motion.
Second.
Slater,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Hanson,
Yes.
McDermott,
Aye.
Parker.
Yes.
7.2, discussion with possible board action vote to approve a contract service agreement with Darby Sterling, Indy, MSPT for physical therapy services for the remainder of fiscal year 18.
As I said earlier, my wife, actually, she is retiring. She shut the doors. She has contracted with the school for the last 7 or 8 years. And Darby basically has been doing all of the PT in our schools because those are her expertise. So in order for us to be okay with the insurance and liability, and also we have to contract with Darby rather than the remainder of the year with Elizabeth Parker's PT. So she has all of the certification, she has the insurance, all the things that we require. So we're not changing any of our services for the remainder, but we just have to contract with Darby rather than Elizabeth Parker's PT.
So moved.
Second.
Hanson,
Yes.
McDermott,
Aye.
Parker,
Yes.
Slater,
Yes.
Kane.
Yes.
Discussion with possible board action vote to appoint an individual to the review committee for the Alva Regional Multipurpose Facility.
Y'all have that letter, and they're wanting all the entities that are going to be involved with this to be represented there. And so they've asked for us to appoint somebody to be on that committee. And then they will work with them and so forth. And I don't know what your pleasure is on that, but if you want the superintendent, I would just designate the superintendent of schools at that point in time. Since I'm going to change, then that person can change and go on. And I think that would work. Or if a board member wants to be involved with that and represent the school. Anybody in the school or anybody that you vote on actually could be on that committee. So that's your choice.
What's your pleasure?
And they are meeting January 29th, is that correct?
Yes.
That's their agenda that's still up to date?
Oh, yeah, and we're to notify them in writing who our representative is so that they can be there.
I would recommend superintendent. My thought.
They have the best feel for the,
It's mostly financial.
in the community, so I would second that.
Motion and second.
And that way you don't have to redo it if you name the superintendent.
McDermott,
Aye.
Parker,
Yes.
Slater,
Yes.
Kane,
Yes.
Hanson.
Yes.
Number 8, discussion with possible board action vote to approve an offer of employment for the remainder of the fiscal year to the following certified teacher for fiscal year 18.
During our accreditation report back in October and so forth, I first realized how many students that we had at ESL. We're like 40. And we talked to you about it at one of the board meetings, that we need to look for somebody to help our students that cannot. And so we've advertised and we've looked for 2 months and so forth. Very fortunate to have Cynthia come back. She apparently liked us so well that she quit her job and came back and happened to apply for it. She has background in special ed, she has a background in language arts and social studies. She's one of those mature teachers that has all of those backgrounds before, and we're very pleased to recommend to the board that Cynthia will be our ESL teacher. And primarily she'll be at the high school, but she will travel to all the schools. And so right now she's working on a plan to approach and how to address the needs of these ESL students. So I'd recommend to the board that Cynthia Leiter be hired for this position for the remainder of the school year.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded.
Hanson,
Yes.
McDermott,
Aye.
Parker,
Yes.
Slater,
Yes.
Kane.
Yes.
Well, welcome back.
Welcome.
Thank you all.
Now, because you left us, we're going to make you work harder.
I'm good. I'm good with
Ah.
that.
How many places can you get to in a day? I like that answer. I can beat a
High
5-year-old.
five. We're glad you're here.
Thank you.
Number 9, proposed executive session for the purpose of discussing the employee staffing for fiscal year 19 per 25 Oklahoma statutes 307B1.
Move that we convene into executive session.
I would second that.
Mhm.